Mismatched expectations can be a relationship killer. Whether you're working with your spouse, working with a client, or working with an employee, whenever those expectations from either party are misaligned, it can cause some friction. So what do you do when that happens? Well, the first thing is make sure your expectations from the get-go are clear. And when they're unclear or when things deviate from that, have a conversation and kind of get back on the same page as quickly as possible. The method of solving for that's a little bit different whether you're dealing with a client, an employee, or your spouse or somebody in your personal life, but ultimately it's a large part about the conversation that has to happen to get things back on track. I was talking to an MSP the other day, and he was lamenting the situation he was having with a client where the client and he were working on a project together, and the project had some change orders that were not maybe necessarily communicated the best, and the client was unwilling to pay for some of the extra fees that needed to happen. And so they ultimately had to come to some sort of an agreement where he unfortunately took a little bit of a loss for some of the fees because of the mismatched expectation. So in that same conversation, somebody else said, hey, probably what we should do is when we're having some of those initial meetings with the clients to say, hey, from time to time, projects go a little bit sideways and sometimes things happen or things need to change. And so in the event that that's going to happen, we'll have a conversation about a change order. It's a very similar conversation that you might have with an employee, right? So let's say you have an employee that's struggling for whatever reason, and one of the first things you should do is meet with the employee and have a conversation about what the expectations are, what's been missed, and how to solve it and ways to work your way through it. Now, I'm not here to give you relationship advice, but something similar should happen too if you are having challenges in your home life and you and your spouse aren't on the same page. It's time to sit down, have a conversation, get back on the same page, because I'm going to go out on a limb and say most people aren't jerks on purpose. Sometimes you just see the world through your own lens and not through your partner's lens. And make sure you get back on the same page, because when you manage expectations well, you have less friction. So let's have the conversations that you need to have and move on with our day.